Can I just say that the way that video games are currently like tested or brought to fruition is pretty much completely bull. Like right now, we have two things going on. We have Marathon, which is going into an open alpha in like a week. Then we have Battlefield Labs, which is a closed alpha, which every single time anything happens with that closed alpha that is completely under NDA, it gets leaked. Every single time. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this one, but this one revolves around essentially two things, and the biggest of which is skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking is apparently coming to Battlefield in a big way, but we have Jack Frags who's covered it here, and we're gonna watch through his video. It's about 18 minutes long, so grab a cup of coffee. I got one here, and let's enjoy this one together because do I have some things to say about this.
The Battlefield community is at war. Is the movement too fast? Is there gonna be the dreaded skill-based
like movement? They're quite literally talking about like Call of Duty style movement.
Matchmaking in the next game. Oh god, the discussion around this has actually prompted a response from David Serland, who is one of the lead producers on the new game, which shouldn't have been public because it was posted on the BF Labs Discord.
So this is what I'm saying. So you're this senior developer and you know how much is leaked from the Battlefield Labs Discord, and then you go and put a huge post out on the Discord. Of course you know it's gonna leak.
And then on Reddit. And also a response from the community manager, Kevin Johnson. So we're going to talk about this today. I haven't wrote a script, but I've got some things to look at and I'll show you. I'll put them on screen as well. So the skill-based matchmaking thing, that started when one of the data miners, so BF Labs has been having playtests, and
we know
certain people have started digging in the game files and they found all sorts of stuff, and we've covered some of it already, but they posted recently that they found matchmaking logic in the game, and this had individual things in it like score per minute, win-loss ratio, kill-death ratio, input device, blah blah blah.
So this is kind of what we see with skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty. Just
a load of stuff that was then posted on Reddit, all that information, and immediately people jumped to the conclusion that the next game will have skill-based matchmaking. And you guys, this is so funny. You know how much of a hot topic this is, right? People have very strong opinions about this. So then there was a ton of posts like SBMM equals no buy. I'm not buying the game if it has skill-based matchmaking. All this stuff. Absolute scenes. That led to this supposed message from David Serland in the BF Labs Discord that was immediately posted on Reddit. And he said the following: PSA, BF 2042 has SBMM according to this definition. This is what I tried to detail above yesterday. It has a factor of skill, it's used, but ping and time to game is the top priority. And in a 64-player game,
ping is king, just like Call of Duty. You heard it here.
I want is to spawn a server that starts as soon as possible. Thus, the skill factor is negligible in terms of sorting into servers. Also, with a party, that is more or less ignored. Just for clarity, saying SBMM is bad is not really useful. What you really want to say is heavy SBMM, where skill separation is a priority, is bad. But that doesn't make skill as
that is true. What are you saying there is true.
The factor in matchmaking bad wholesale. On the contrary, we need a skill value to make balanced teams, no matter the ranges of skills total on a server. It wouldn't be fun if all high skill players ended up on the same team, would it? He continued, just to calm this.
Now, he doesn't confirm this. He does not confirm this, but what he is saying is that the predominant use of skill-based matchmaking within Battlefield is to team balance. Now, this can be bad. If you are an incredibly good player or maybe an incredibly good squad, you are going to consistently get very bad teams. That sucks, especially in a game like Battlefield where team play matters so infinitely so much more than a game like Call of Duty. But what's the other option? Like, you constantly getting games that are lopsided because of just random chance? I don't know.
It's down a tad. The fact a skill value is in the matchmaker, in parentheses, it's been there since we started being able to matchmake, by the way, doesn't mean we're going with a heavy-handed SBMM solution. Quite the opposite. Battlefield is at its best when you play the all-out war modes with friends and different types of players. We do not want to limit that. Then he finishes off here. All of this is also true, skill being important for team balancing, regardless of in which way you join the server. For reference, did you feel like the BF Labs playtests were heavy-handed SBMM? No, then we good. It's the same matchmaking.
Whoa. Okay, how many people are in these playtests? Because the thing is, the thicker the more players you have in a game, the thicker the SBMM, because they're more easily able to do so. I don't even know how many people are in the labs playtest, but let's say there's 10,000. Compare that to 1 million once the game launches. The game's way more easily able to do a heavier skill-based matchmaking. Now, the question is, and I think he's going to address this because it was one of the leaks, are you able to just select servers? Because if you can select a server, then already the skill-based matchmaking will be less.
Maker and settings we'll use with tweaks if we find any issues, of course. So David Serland, as I mentioned, he's one of the lead producers on the game. Very influential developer at DICE. I think he's been there since BF2, maybe.
That's wild.
Instrumental in actually turning around BF4. I think he worked on many of the other games in between there too. He quit and then he's come back for the new game. So he's responding to this, basically saying that everybody calm down. At the moment, it seems, what the data is related to is a team balancer. So it would seem that it's not forming lobbies based on player skill. What's happening is when everyone is in a match, as he says, as quickly as possible, it will then balance the teams. And it uses that skill factor, whatever that is, to put Johnny on team A and Howard the Duck on team B. So hopefully you get a more balanced game overall. And he says this has been in since they've been able to do matchmaking. So I think many of the Battlefield games before have had team balancers. I remember BF3 had it, but I think that was like a custom thing that server admins made. BF4 maybe official, maybe custom server admins, but BF1 I think definitely had a team balancer, as did BF5. And from my experience, I don't feel like there's COD style skill-based matchmaking in Battlefield. I've never felt that way about the game. I know for a fact that there's a new player pool, and DICE have talked about this in the past. It's just not that well known. If you're a new player, you'll get a few matches where you're in theory again just playing against new players, so you can learn the ropes, and then it will just put you in with everyone else.
Which whereas I think is
in Call of Duty, the skill-based matchmaking is insane, and they've got it dialed in. If you've played on the same COD account since Modern Warfare 19 and you've played all those other games since,
This is true.
Have almost 6 years of data on you, analytics about what kind of a player you are, and they will use that to put you into matches.
Call of Duty actually knows what you eat for breakfast, and they will adjust your lobby that you go into thus wise. So, I mean, if you had a sloppy morning and you had 3 bowls of cereal and they know that you're going to be hitting a huge crash soon, they'll put you in easier lobbies. They know everything about you.
And I'm going to show you roughly how this works. So COD released a 41-page document last year about how the skill-based matchmaking algorithm works in the game. There's a ton of graphs in it, information. And although they say ping is king, they've got like 8 other factors which actually build a lobby before you even start playing. The goal is to put you in a game with similar skilled players. If you play by yourself, whether that's in multiplayer or Warzone, it's very accurate and it will put you in a lobby of players who are basically clones of you. If you play in a party with bigger skill disparity.
Just to be clear, it is a slippery slope, right? So if you have like where you can choose your server, obviously they're not going to get in your server based off of your skill. But there was a point, I want to say Black Ops 4, where the predominant use of skill-based matchmaking was like Battlefield, balancing teams. And it was frustrating even back then, because if you were a good player, your team would suck, and you only have 6 players on your team. If they all suck, you're the only good one. You're probably going to lose a lot. But now it's just the entire lobby is balanced by skill-based matchmaking, like who you get matched up against. And that it feels like crap. Like it really, really does. And I hope that doesn't happen with Battlefield.
It won't work as well, and it draws an average based on the skill.
Like even what the dev said there is like part of the big war modes is feeling like there's a variety of skill. If it doesn't feel like that, it doesn't feel like the right mode.
And it will pull in more players from either side of that average. I'll show you what I mean now. I've got the stupid graph here. So here on the bottom, we've got skill.
Stupid graph.
And then we've got 0 to 100.
It actually goes up to like
0
500.
is the lowest skill you can be. 100 is the highest skill. You play a few games and it will figure out a number from 0 to 100. And here's all the players. We're going to draw a nice bell curve.
It's closer towards 0, but
you get the idea. Here's all the COD players in the world. Here you've got the lowest skilled COD players. And then in the middle, you've got the average COD players. That's where the majority of the players are. And then here at the far end on the right, you've got the elite COD players. And the way that skill-based matchmaking works is it will assign this value, as I mentioned, and then it's an active system that constantly updates and it segments the players. So let's say I'm a player who's got an average skill level, so I'm here somewhere, and I start searching for a game, it will let me play against people that are here and here.
Yeah, he's right.
So like there's a big segment here, right? But it won't let me play against people that are here or here. And let's say I'm somebody who's here, like 98 skill value. That's going to segment there, and it's only going to let me play against people here, here, and maybe here if it takes too long to find a match.
Yep. What he's
if
saying
I'm
is 100%
someone who's
right.
really low skill, like here, it will pull in players from like here, here, and here, and here maybe. That's the way it works. So you are basically in a segment of skill. That looks awful, but you get what I mean.
It's a good way
so
of
when you
explaining
matchmake, you only have access to a certain pool of players who are...
So, and this is the thing, right? If you're really bad or really good, it's going to limit the amount of players you can play with. And quite honestly, I think the graph is probably more so like this, like where it would, the low skill players would start out here, the curve would happen, and then the high skill would be a little bit lower. And that is why the longest amount of matchmaking is when you're a really good player, which sucks.
Similar skill to you.
It sucks.
You get it, right? Like, let me know in the comments. You get how that works. This is in normal casual matchmaking, by the way. I'm not talking about ranked here. This is you quick play. You quick
that's
play,
also the way it works in
Warzone,
ranked
multiplayer. Even with your filters on, whatever, it's going to use this hidden skill rating and put you in a lobby. Now, in relation to parties, you can quite easily see how this breaks, right? So let's say I want to play Warzone, and I've got a friend who barely ever plays, and their skill rating is down here, say 10, 15. And then let's say you've got Barry here, who's kind of on the lower end of the average. And then you've got Brian, who's up here. And then you've got Peter, who's like an elite player.
Peter's a freaking sweat. We all know that Peter's a goddamn sweat.
And it's going to take all these and find an average. Let's say that's right.
So what'll actually, he's right. What'll actually happen. So if this is a 0.1, or sorry, a 10, a 90, a 60, and a 80, right? It will scratch these two out and then find somewhere in the middle. So if it's 60, 80, it'll be somewhere around 70, or if it's 50, 60, it'll be like a 55, and it'll just be in the middle of all of that. Or they will try to balance another team that has that average skill rating of the individual team. That is why when I do open lobbies, or I play with a party of people who aren't as good as me, my lobbies feel way easier. If I go and play with like Lazy and Zach, my lobbies feel 100 times sweatier because they're either the same skill level as me or most likely much better than me. So who you play with determines how the game actually feels to a huge extent.
Right there. And then it's going to try and use that value to match, what is it, 150 players now in Warzone into a lobby. You can see this falls apart because in a squad, you've got vast differences in skill between the lowest skill player and the highest skill player. So that means that this guy, the high skill player, if he ends up in this lobby here, he's probably going to do really well. But there might be other squads who also have that guy who's in this lobby doing well to compete against.
That as well.
And this player here, if they're in this lobby, maybe they're not going to have a great time. But these guys in the middle, you know, they can pick up some of the slack and maybe help a little bit and get the dub in Warzone. But you see how this system kind of has difficulty when you've got skill disparity. If you're somebody who plays Warzone a lot and you've got a squad who are all in this high end of the graph here, let's say you've got 4 players here.
Guess who else is in that high end of the graph? Cheaters.
The average is going to be here. So it's going to put you in a lobby with similar squads. So if you're a really sweaty squad, you're probably going to end up in sweaty lobbies that are just in this segment of the player base. And you'll wait longer for matches. If you've got a squad of mates who are all kind of average skill, you got 4 players here queuing for Warzone. I think this is arguably the best place to be for Warzone in terms of variety.
For variety, because and also if everyone's similar level here, the skill range will be actually a little bit wider.
See, because when you matchmake, it can pull from here. It's got the biggest pool of players to put in your lobby, so there'll be much more variety. And this should kind of feel like how COD used to be, where you click play and it will just make a game of whoever was clicking play at this.
But guess what? If you get better, it gets worse. If you get better, your experience gets worse. So why do you want to get better?
Same time. I could be wrong, but based on my experiences and based on the white paper they released, I feel like that's an accurate depiction for me of how the matchmaker works in COD. From playing solo, from playing in squads with skill disparity, and from playing in low skill and high skill
Everything
squads.
he said is correct.
Why did I show you that? Well, I think that many Battlefield players are scared of this kind of COD SBMM system coming to Battlefield. They don't want that in Battlefield. And I agree with them too. I think if you had a system like that in BF where every 64 player game of Conquest had segmented player bases, where in each segment everybody was the same kind of player playing against clones of themselves, the core essence of what makes Battlefield fun and great falls apart, it goes away, it quickly ends up at the bottom of the hill. I think that in a game of Conquest on each team, you need a variety of different players who are playing in a variety of different playstyles. You need the support players who are going around dropping medkits, dropping ammo bags. Maybe they're not the best fraggers, but they're there supporting the team. You need the engineers who aren't necessarily focusing on infantry. They're looking to take out vehicles. They're using rocket launchers. They're using s'mores. They're using stingers to take out or dissuade air vehicles, little birds, from constantly destroying your team. I think you need the sniper on the edge of the map who, if you manage to flank him, you could knife him and get his tags. I think you need the players who are going to throw some C4 on a Jeep and try 15 times to detonate a tank. On that 16th go, they get it. It's an amazing feeling. And you need the assault player who's just beaming people with an M16. And you need the medic who's going to revive all those players that have just been killed. And you need the guy who takes smokes instead of frag grenades so you can push objectives and capture the flags. You need the guy who's going to transport troops in the helicopter.
Variety. Variety is what he's
going for. You need the guy
in
the attack helicopter. You need the guy in the tank. All these different types of players and play styles, that's what creates the awesome sandbox feeling in a Battlefield match. For me, Battlefield has never been a serious competitive game. If I'm in a round of Conquest or Breakthrough, I don't care if I win or lose. I care about having fun, the moment to moment. That's what I'm there for. Whether it's just messing about with mates with a soft lam and a javelin, or trying to shoot down a jet with a Renzook or something. I'm experimenting, I'm having a laugh. That's the essence of Battlefield for me. And if you start to game it and put it in this hyper-competitive setting where you just have sweaty McKay players playing with and against 63 sweaty McKay players, I don't think that's going to work. I'm all for having a new player pool. That's what they've had in the past. I think that works. If you're a new player, there should be a grace.
Is there anyone that's against that? Like,
period.
Let's be honest
I think
here.
many people would agree with me on this. There should be a grace period where you're playing with and against other new players, learning the game, improving your skills. After you hit a certain number of matches, you've been in the small pond, you're then thrown into the big sea with everyone else. And I do 100% agree with the team balancer too. I think once people are in a match that's been formed as quick as possible with the lowest ping, it's fair to have a team balancer, because if every match is...
Again, you just got to hope at some point you're going to get a decent team. If you're a really good player, that's the only time that's really frustrating.
An absolute stomp fest. You're not going to enjoy it, are you? If all the best players are on one team and every single round is a walkover, I don't think that's going to be fun. I feel like you're going to get bored quickly there. Yeah, every now and again, you might get a match where your team gets completely destroyed, and then the next match, you're the one that does the destroying, and then the next one is a really close game. The variety of each Battlefield match is what keeps me coming back and playing the game. And I think that's what sets it apart from other games like Call of Duty. I feel like if they're going to do some kind of competitive 5v5 mode in the new game, some kind of domination mode, counter...
Is that a rumor?
Strike star mode, whatever. Maybe there's an argument there in those specific game modes to have some...
No, keep the skill-based matchmaking out, please.
Kind of stricter skill-based matchmaking system. Especially if it's ranked play and there's rewards at the end, for example.
Rank play, different
but
story.
In Conquest, in Breakthrough, I would argue even in BR, in Battle Royale, I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's that serious. Video games are a toy. They're supposed to be picked up and played with. When you start turning everything into a ranked, hyper-competitive environment with hidden MMRs, hidden skill ratings, segmented player bases, the spirit of it just disappears for me. That's how it feels sometimes. And the other side to this, which I haven't mentioned at all yet, is server browser, because that gives players the choice to pick and choose where they want to go and play, subverting any kind of SBMM system that might hypothetically be in the game. Officially, we still don't know if there's going to be a server browser in the game. If there is it going to be part of Portal again, and is it going to be half-baked? To keep it simple, a lot of people just want it on the front page. You've got your quick play matchmaking, whatever the latest event is, Conquest Breakthrough, but then you also have a server browser option. You click on that, and it's got the official servers in, as well as community hosted servers. And it has official servers that are conquest on every single map, and it just rotates through the map. So you can keep playing with the same people over and over again. You can pick what your ping is. You can pick which map you want to play.
I hope they do that. I really, really do. Because I think that sets a really good precedent. And I think just being able to pick what you want to play is increasingly important nowadays, especially with all of the algorithms and everything like that.
Which game mode you want to play, and you're not beholden to some insane matchmaking system. Yes, I still see value in Portal, especially if they expand upon it, but they should let people rent servers again. They should let people have persistent servers and throw it all together in an official server list.
Where did you
like
just
we
get
had in
killed?
BF4. I don't see what the problem with that would be. There's filters there, so if people want to go into server browser and pick, they can do that. But if the average gamer just still has the option to click quick play and get into a match as quick as possible, cool, why not both? So maybe it would be nice to get some clarification on that too, because server browser is so important to the core Battlefield community. Official servers, rented servers, communities have the potentials to grow, friendships have the potentials to start, and it keeps the games going long after launch. I really hope that DICE are paying attention to that feedback, because there's so much of it. And finally, the other thing I mentioned, there was a post from Kevin Johnson. He's the community manager of Battlefield. It's quite a long post, and it was basically telling people, look, you're seeing a lot of stuff without context, a lot of stuff that's unfinished, and the purpose of BF Labs is that it's a testing environment. Things are very liable to...
Also, you're data mining things. There's a lot of files in data mined files that aren't necessarily going to be there, especially in a beta or
change.
Alpha or whatever.
And it's a different approach to making the game than they've had in the past, but they're kind of getting sick of the leaks and stuff now, so take the NDA seriously, basically. I think a lot of it has been handled really badly. It was bound to happen. I know there are people out there who are saying, oh, the leaks are on purpose, it's just marketing. But some of these videos, there's grey textures everywhere, glitches, stuff floating in the air, pink bushes, everything's unfinished. DICE don't want you to see the game looking like this. They want you to see a nice, flashy 10-minute gameplay trailer when it's actually ready.
Okay. Like, I agree with you, but like at the same time, are they stupid? Someone needs to say this. Like, you put out a NDA for people who do not care, who do not work in the industry, who just want to play the game. They want to show people. They play something, they're like, I want to talk about this. They know it's just human nature. This is going to leak. It's going to. Look how many things leak from huge businesses that have NDAs with billions of dollars, billions, and they actually impact the people who are signing the NDAs, who are going to get sued, yet they still break NDA. And you expect some random dude that's a electrician who comes home at night and gets to play in Battlefield Labs, not to tell the person that he works with everything that he played the night before, who then actually cares about the online community, goes online and posts. Like, do we actually think that this is not the case? Like, how stupid are we? As soon as you do something like this, you know it's going to leak. So you can say, oh, like, take the NDA. It's just, when you have something like this, it's going to leak. When Call of Duty has behind closed doors events with 20 people in it, I know half of them, and I know half of them aren't going to leak it, yet it still leaks. Someone says something, and it always leaks.
Ready to be shown. I don't think the leaks are on purpose. As it turns out, the sentiment and the response so far, I feel, has been quite positive to the leaked gameplay videos.
Yeah.
There are a few things like the movement. There's a hot debate right now, as I mentioned, where people are saying, oh, maybe the movement's a bit too fast and too arcadey. Battlefield has never been a milsim type game though, so I don't really get that feedback based on the videos that I've seen. It looks like BF3 and BF4, but you can slide now. And you've also got some of the movement options from BF5, like supine position, shooting from that position, hoisting yourself up over walls, crouch roll when you land, crouch run is there too. I don't see any evidence that they're going for COD style sliding and slide cancelling and all that stuff, so I don't know. And part of what Kevin Johnson was saying was kind of wait until it's finished. You know, because the version of the game that we're seeing in these leaks might be completely different to the one that we actually end up playing. They might completely change the movement.
It won't be completely different, but somewhat different, yeah.
Badly. It was bound to leak. The leaks were left up for far too long, but ultimately, the purpose of BF Labs is, in theory, you get a better game when it comes out because it's been balance tested, bug tested, server performance, gameplay, features, all that stuff has been actually feedbacked on by a section of the community before it comes out. I'm sure they realize it's a sacrifice they've made here for the greater good. Perhaps though, for whatever reason, they didn't expect the level of leaks and data mining, but it was always a foregone conclusion. Hopefully it works out. We'll
maybe,
see. With that said, that's all for
maybe they didn't expect the data mining. I'll give them that.
today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. If you've watched all the way to the end, I know it's kind of been a bit waffly off the top of my head. You know, these videos, I don't do them that often, but hey, there it is. Drop me a like, guys, if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Here comes. Every time. It's a banger every time. Now, yeah, maybe they didn't expect the data mined, but I think like you got to be an idiot to not realize, okay, we're putting this thing out. A bunch of people are going to play it. Is anything going to leak? Frickin' course it is. Like, duh. So yeah. Now, as far as the SBMM stuff, I don't think any game's going to have it as thick as Call of Duty does. And I want just a game to come out without skill-based matchmaking, it to be an absolute banger, and Call of Duty to be like, oh, okay, pull it back. But I'm scared that'll never happen. And it might never happen. But that's what I want. So Battlefield, crush it. Be amazing. Have no skill-based matchmaking. And make Activision look like a fool. I would love it. Because I don't want skill-based matchmaking anymore.